Okay. So, the last of the 3 lectures on trigonometry and spherical trigonometry. So, here I will be exclusively dealing with spherical trigonometry, which I had started in the previous lecture. So, we will consider the celestial sphere and the coordinate systems. So, then the declination formula, which is a very important formula. Then what are known as 10 problems in Tantra Sangraha, Dasha Prashnaha, and a typical example, and then a distance between solar and lunar discs. Okay. So, a spherical triangle is formed by the intersection of 3 great circles on the surface of a sphere. I had mentioned it in the previous lecture. So, this is one great circle passing through AC. So, then this is another great circle and this is another great circle. So, great circle means a circle whose center is the center of the sphere. So, there may be circles whose center is not the, like if you consider a circle somewhere here, its center is not the center of sphere. So, that is called a small circle. So, in the various relations, it is only these arcs which are coming from great circles arcs, they are the important and they give useful relations. So, that is why we consider that. So, we had written like this also yesterday. And there are several formulae connecting the sides and angles of a spherical triangle. So, if ABC, suppose if ABC is a spherical triangle, see here the in a spherical triangle both are almost the same status. See, in plane triangle, remember the sides are lengths and these are angles, whereas here both the sides and this thing angles are angles kind of a thing roughly. Of course, they are arcs, we are always discussing with arcs. So, this is a circular arc. So, BC is a circular arc, it is not a straight line and it is a part of a circle whose arc length is small a, and the angle between these tangents to this AB, this arc and the tangent to AC. So, that angle is a spherical angle, it is called a spherical angle on of the spherical triangle. So, similarly you can there are 3 spherical angles and 3 sides ABC. So, then there is a famous law called cosines, law of cosines. So, cos of A is equal to cos B cos C plus sin B sin C cos A, and clearly there are 2 companions to the above formula because cyclic symmetry, A goes to B, B goes to C, C goes to A. So, then you will have 3 more 2 more relations like this, the cosine formula. Okay. And similarly, next there is a very important cosine formula is used all the time in modern spherical trigonometry, and the sine formula also, relation between ratio of the sides to that of angles of spherical triangle is called sin A by sin A. See here, remember that in triangle it is like this, here in spherical triangle sin A, sin small a by sin capital A is equal to sin small b by sin capital B is equal to sin small c by sin capital C. So, when the sides A, B, C are small, it is quite evident that the above formula reduces to this, which is the sine formula for a plane triangle. Okay. So, this sine formula is used in Indian spherical trigonometry at various times, but cosine formula is never used. I mean, it is never used as such. Of course, what are equivalents of cosine formula will be there, obviously they needed that. So, they will get the same results as what is got from cosine formula, but they do it in a different way. Okay. So, these are simple things about spherical triangles, but though simple though they are, they can give very interesting results. Even about 40-50 years back, there was Pancharatnam, using the properties of these things he could get some interesting very important result in optics by analyzing this this light rays and all that, and which are related to a spherical triangle in some way. So, he got a new result, a new geometrical phase called Pancharatnam phase. It was quite simple result, but very interesting and very geometrical and has got very nice significance and very elegant results you can get even now, if you understand. Okay. So, now we are of course not interested in those things, we are interested in astronomy. So, how does one particular individual view the celestial sphere? So, that is important. So, there is observer and we are situated on the earth. So, we have to this relation must be clear. So, all the celestial objects seem to be situated on the surface of a sphere a very large radius with the observer at the center. That is what we observe, right. So, when you observe the sky, so we see that all the sun, moon, planets and stars, so they are all moving in the some large sphere which is blue, okay, in on which hemisphere, and they are all moving in that, and this is the celestial sphere. So, though fictitious, the celestial sphere is the basic tool in discussing the motion both diurnal and relative of celestial objects. So, what is diurnal? The daily motion of the each of these objects, and what is relative? Relative motion among them. So, that is the sun, moon, etc. move in the background of stars. So, that relative motion also is very important. So, in this figure this is the of course the earth and this is the equator of the earth and this is observer. So, observer you see when he sees the sky, obviously he will see only the upper part, right, because the lower part is hidden, because he can't see here because earth will obstruct him. So, only half the number of stars, half the number, not number, but half the part of the sky he will see. So, that is this thing, this hemisphere. I will show the figure corresponding to that, and this is the axis of rotation of the earth. Okay. So, the PQ. So, this is the direction of earth's spin, we know now that it is rotating, okay, and you can from the observer you can draw a line parallel to this. So, that is the apparent this is the toward the celestial pole. There will be hardly any difference even OP2 and CP1, because this is of the order of about 6000 kilometers, whereas the stars etc. are millions of miles away. I mean, so this will be almost this will be, you can take it as parallel. So, this relation. So, your this suppose this is the latitude of the place, if this is the latitude of the place. So, that is it is the person is at an angle phi with respect to the equator. So, that is the latitude. The important thing is the altitude of the north pole is equal to the latitude of the place. This is a fundamental result, very simple result in astronomy. Okay. So, that is how much this north pole is above the horizon, okay, that is the lower part of the sky. So, that will be equal to the latitude of the place. So, for Chennai it may be only 11 degrees and for Delhi it will be nearly 25 or 26 or whatever degrees, you see. So, the altitude of the north pole at a place is equal to the latitude of the place. Okay. So, in the celestial sphere the C is the come to this, here C is the center of the earth, then O is the observer on the surface of the earth whose northerly latitude is phi, and we have drawn a tangential plane at the location of the observer, and this is the horizon, this is called a horizon. This horizon is written as a line like that, but it will be actually a big circle where the sky and the earth seem to meet, you see, at a far away distance. So, that is the horizon called Kshitija in Indian astronomy, and as the earth rotates about the axis, it appears as if the entire celestial sphere rotates in the opposite direction about P1. Okay. Line OP2 is parallel to CP1. So, it looks like as if the whole thing is everything is rotating around this axis. So, that is what it was clearly stated by Aryabhatiya also in his Aryabhata in his Aryabhatiya. He says that just like people in a boat, they they will see the objects on the bank move backwards, but actually you are moving forward in a boat. So, similarly all the celestial objects, they seem to be rotating from eastern portion to western portion, but it is actually due to the rotation of the earth, and stars are fixed essentially, and the motion is due to the motion of the earth, rotation of the earth. Okay. So, celestial sphere, celestial pole and the latitude, I have written that. So, this how this is the fundamental figure which comes in all the calculations. So, this is the observer, I will O, and this is the horizon, okay, and this is the axis of rotation, the direction of the axis of rotation of the earth. The topmost point is called zenith and the lowermost point is called nadir. Nadir is that is in the terminology used in modern this thing days. Okay. So, this is how it is. So, this is a hemisphere which you see. So, this is a celestial sphere for an observer in the northern hemisphere with latitude phi. So, now to specify a point on this thing for any kind of a accurate description, you should have some accurate ways of describing it. Okay. So, how do you locate the position of a point on the surface of the earth? Okay. So, essentially we will specify it we can know the coordinate of a place on the earth by specifying its latitude and longitude, right. So, this is the earth, okay, and suppose so this is the north pole, this is the south pole, okay. So, then suppose this is the reference plane, celestial equator. So, this phi, this angle, so that is called a latitude of the place, and longitude. So, that will depend upon, you have to give some reference line, you see. So, there is no absolute significance to that. Nowadays, we take this the great circle passing through Greenwich from the north pole to south pole. You see, take the great circle arc, great circle in a semicircle between north pole and south pole, which is passing through Greenwich. Okay. So, that is called a standard meridian nowadays, and this angle, so this is called the longitude, right. So, the longitude of earth is Chennai will be around 80 degrees or something like that. So, this is the longitude and latitude is around 11 degrees. So, latitude and longitude, you see, you can do it in some other way. You see, you can take this as a reference plane, okay, and you can point it and do it in some other way, but they will not be useful. This is what is useful, okay. But in celestial sphere, when you describe the motion of celestial objects, there are many, there are not one but 2, 3 which are quite useful, okay. So, just as one uses latitude and longitude, 2 numbers to specify any location on the surface of the earth, so also one employs different coordinate systems to specify the location of celestial objects on the celestial sphere at any instant. So, we now explain 3 commonly employed coordinate systems: the horizontal system, the equatorial system and the ecliptic system. So, this is the here the horizontal system, or also called alt azimuth system. The fundamental plane is the circle is the horizon. So, that is the fundamental this thing, and pole of the circle is zenith or nadir, and the coordinates that are used are altitude and azimuth. Okay. So, that is, suppose this is the fundamental circle for this earth, position on the surface of the earth. So, this is the equator is the reference plane, and these north pole, south pole are the reference poles, okay, and the coordinates are the this latitude and the longitude. So, it is equivalent of this in the celestial sphere is altitude and azimuth. So, I will show the figure, and there is another thing called coordinate system called equatorial coordinate system, for which the fundamental plane is the celestial equator and the poles are celestial poles, and the coordinates are declination and right ascension or hour angle. And similarly, for the motion of planets and moon and all that, it is more convenient to use some what is known as the ecliptic coordinate system, where the fundamental plane is ecliptic and the poles are the ecliptic poles, and the coordinates are the latitude and longitude, celestial latitude and longitude. So, essentially same idea, but used in different ways and used for motion of celestial objects, and these are the Indian names for that. They also use this kind of coordinate systems, and altitude is called Utkrama, azimuth is called Udagra, hour angle is called Nata, declination is called Kranti, then there is what is known as right ascension, I will soon show you, Kala, declination again is same thing, but Kranti, this first is different, and then for the ecliptic coordinate, longitude is called by various names, Boga, Dorja and all that, latitude is Vikshepa. So, the reference circle Kshitija, so for the horizontal system is called Kshitija, and prime meridian is called Dakshinottara Vrutta, and for the hour angle equatorial system is Dakshinottara Vrutta is the prime meridian, and the reference plane is Vishuvad Vrutta or Ghatika Vrutta, and similarly for the right ascension declination is Vishuvad Vrutta and Ghatika Vrutta, and declination is the Tadviparita. The same actually, which is essentially Kranti only is this thing, and the longitude for the ecliptic, the reference circle is the Kranti Vrutta, and the latitude is Vikshepa, that is Vikshepa Vrutta Tadviparita, of this thing of that. So, for the horizontal system or alt azimuth system sometimes it is called. So, essentially this is your celestial sphere, this is your object. So, this how much it is elevated above the horizon. So, that is the altitude, and suppose you take some point, northern point let us say, then north to this point, you see you draw the great circle passing through the object and the zenith, that is called a vertical circle. So, this angle where it hits the horizon at point B, intersects it at B, so then this is called azimuth. So, this horizontal angle is called azimuth in nowadays, even now in physics, but it was earlier used for astronomy. So, this is altitude and this is called the zenith distance, altitude plus zenith distance is 90 degrees and you can use any units for that, you can use it degrees, you can use minutes as in Indian astronomy, sometimes you can use radians also, but normally in Indian astronomy text is expressed in terms of minutes and sometimes in degrees also, amsha also is used. Okay. So, this is the horizontal or alt azimuth system. You might some people who have handled telescopes, they will know that if you go and ask for a telescope, so they will say, is it, do you want alt azimuth mount or equatorial mount? Okay. So, that is the how you will observe, I mean what are the ways you can rotate the thing and all that. So, this is the alt azimuth system, and similarly equatorial system is now this is your celestial sphere and this is your north celestial pole. Now, draw a great circle through east west and which is perpendicular to this OP. Draw a circle which is perpendicular to the celestial, I mean this axis OP, and which is intersecting the horizon at E and V, that will be by definition that will be the east and west points. So, that is called a celestial equator, which will be an imaginary circle in the sky which is parallel to the terrestrial equator. So, that is this thing, and then from this you drop a perpendicular arc from P to this. So, then suppose your object is this, what is the distance between this object and the equator in angular measure? So, that is called declination, that is called declination. So, this is, and then this angle how much it is moved from this is called a prime meridian. So, how much it has moved? So, it has come from here and it is moved like this, by how much angle it has moved. So, that is called the hour angle. So, that will in fact tell you how many in angles, it will tell you how much it has moved in the sky after crossing the meridian. So, meridian is that uppermost this thing, this circle, see this vertical circle. So, that how much has it moved, how many degrees has it moved. Okay. So, that is that 15 degrees is essentially equal to 1 degree 1 hour, right, because 360 degrees will correspond to 24 hours. So, from that you can find out how much time has elapsed after the meridian transit, you see. So, this is the equatorial system, and in this also there is a declination and hour angle. So, that are these things. Sometimes it may be more convenient to use what is the right ascension. So, there is a point called equinox, which is intersection point between equator and ecliptic. So, the equinox and this. So, draw the perpendicular from x to this celestial equator. The angle between this equinox and this point, that is called a right ascension. So, that is also used sometimes, and so that is an angular measure along the equator. Anyway, so this you had either altitude and azimuth or declination and hour angle, so they will be related to the spherical trigonometry relation. So, these are the things which are related. And the ecliptic system, especially for measuring the longitude of the positions of planets and all that, you have to use this, even actually for sun also. So, you have to sun and moon also. So, there so you are considering a circle which is the apparent path of the sun. So, that intersect the equator at point this like this. So, then suppose this is your star or any object. So, draw a perpendicular like this. So, this angle, that is called the longitude, celestial longitude, and this is called the latitude or Vikshepa. Vikshepa in Indian this thing, and lambda is called this thing. So, sometimes it is called just graha or sputak graha, or sometimes sign of that is called dorjya. So, from the context it is clear, sometimes it is just called graha. So, this is the angle. So, everywhere there are two angles, one angle along the reference circle and one angle perpendicular to that. So, that is the, and all these coordinates are related. Beta is related to all this delta and all that ecliptic system. So, this is the ecliptic system. So, this is the equatorial system, and this is the alt-azimuth system. So, all of them will be used in. Now, declination formula. So, remember what is declination. So, it essentially this is the angular measure between the object and the equator, that is called declination. Suppose it is moving, it is actually situated in the ecliptic also, okay. So, then in that case, so that longitude, celestial longitude will come. So, how is this related to longitude delta? So, that we can find out. So, for instance, I have written here in this diagram. So, this is the equator, celestial equator, this is the ecliptic, that is the apparent path of the sun, and planets also, moon, they also will be very close to this ecliptic. So, suppose if the object is situated here, so then the angle between these planes, you see this plane, this is the ecliptic plane, O, this gamma OA. So, that is the ecliptic plane, and O gamma B, this one, this is the equatorial plane. The angle between them is this epsilon, or the called the obliquity of ecliptic. Which one? Aksha?
Akshakshetrani. Akshakshetra.
Not Aksha. No. Aksha is the latitude. This thing, not the terrestrial latitude. This is the celestial latitude.
Shanku, no?
No, it's not a Shanku. No, this is a motion. This is not a Shanku. This is the I am describing the coordinates of the celestial object, not a shadow. And that is nothing to do with shadows. No. The Triprashna Adhikara, this buddhi comes, but it is how to describe the coordinates of the object. You see, that is what we are discussing, and the declination, how much it is above the equator. So, that is what we are trying to see, and I am saying that, for instance, for sun, we rewrite it in terms of longitude. Longitude is what is given. So, then what is its declination? You see, the declination is nearly 23.5 degrees at June 21st, and it is 0 on March 21st. On any other day, it is because the declination will be, the longitude will be 90 degrees for June 21st. So, and in between March 21st and this will be in between some value, So, that is lambda, and how is declination related to lambda? That is what we are trying to see. And then in that case, you can drop a perpendicular from here to this and here to the plane of the equator, both So, then this OAB and this O prime, A prime, B prime, both planes will be perpendicular to the equator, and this will be clearly sin delta or sin delta, and by similarity of triangles, you see, this will be R, this angle will be lambda, this angle gamma O A prime is lambda, and this line will be O prime A prime, that is sin lambda. So, this is R sin lambda, this is epsilon, and this is R sin epsilon, and this is R sin delta. By proportionality of the triangles you get this. So, this can be derived using planar triangles. So, this is a well known result, in Indian, in fact any astronomer will have to know this, otherwise they can't perform any calculation, they can't get any useful result. So, this is the declination formula. All these things are very clearly explained in Yukti Bhasha. So, as I told you, most of the text will give only the results, and how to use the results they are given, but explanation of all these things, you should go for some commentary, and Yukti Bhasha is more or less a commentary, especially the astronomy part. It is really a commentary on the Tantra Sangraha, where all kinds of results are given in a systematic manner. So, there they will explain all these things, all these things. I will come to that. Typically what is given in Yukti Bhasha, you will know. So, spherical trigonometry in modern text and Tantra Sangraha and Yukti Bhasha. So, all the results based on spherical trigonometry are exact in Tantra Sangraha. Okay. So, and in the earlier text most of the relations were correct, but for some small errors at certain places, especially some things which will come in the context of eclipses called nonagesimal and all. I do not want to go into technicality. There are some side things which are not correct, but not very inaccurate. Actually numerically they were not very bad, but they were not correct anyway, and Tantra Sangraha all these errors are removed, and all the results are exact and correct, the spherical astronomy results. So, they are correct. Of course, planetary motion there may be some parameters may be not coincide with the modern parameters, but the model is all again correct. We are not going into that now, but what I am saying is spherical, as far as spherical trigonometry is concerned, all the relations are absolutely correct. And moreover, the treatment of problems related to spherical trigonometry is very systematic. So, they were there in so called Triprashnadhikara, all these things will be there, and here the treatment is more systematic. You will go from, we will see to one example, we will take how it is more systematic, and but Tantra Sangraha gives only results but not explanations. So, Yukti Bhasha explains all these results systematically in its astronomy part. In fact, the earlier sections of astronomy part in Yukti Bhasha closely resemble corresponding sections in a modern text on spherical astronomy. So, if you, in fact earlier people had this astronomy in BSc, some of them I think still have. So, they will start with the celestial sphere, they will start with horizon, they will talk about the cardinal points, zenith and celestial equator, all these system of coordinates and all that. Exactly similar things are there in Yukti Bhasha, but in a different language, and all these things, figures are not written, they are explained, okay, they are described. So, but if somebody knows some astronomy, one can easily recreate the figures. So, we have done that when we wrote the explanatory notes for Yukti Bhasha. So, all there is no ambiguity, always one can clearly see what he is trying to say. So, all these things are very clearly and systematically explained. So, it is really a textbook actually, and there is goes in a way similar to modern astronomy part, but derivations and proofs of results are quite different from the modern treatment, because in the modern this thing you will go to cosine formula and then immediately do various results. Cosine formula is not there, but something equivalent to that is there. Okay. So, but the treatment of problems is, you will get eventually the same result, but using slightly different principles. So, that is what I am trying to say. In fact, the declination type formula play a crucial role in the method of derivation, and in the following we give some results from Tantra Sangraha only indicating the proofs in Yukti Bhasha. So, basically they will use this kind of a formula, declination kind of a formula, and then find the rule of proportions. So, declination time formula and rule of proportions. So, that is what is used. So, essentially what I am trying to say is what they consider, how it is posed in Yukti Bhasha. Of course, it was understood in earlier texts also, but they might not have stated it like Yukti Bhasha, which is a textbook. So, what how he describes is, suppose you got two great circles. Suppose there are two great circles intersecting at some point, and suppose the inclination is known. So, then suppose you consider a point which is some anything, some angle, some arc on one of the circles, then drop a perpendicular to the plane of the other circle. Drop a perpendicular to the plane of the other circle. What is the length of the perpendicular? Okay. So, that is how he poses the problem, and that is what gives rise to the declination formula, because this will be essentially some kind of, if it is the ecliptic, this is the declination and this is the perpendicular or sine delta. How it is related to this arc and this. And if you have for some, this is a simple problem, but for some complicated problems you have to use this several times, you have to consider. I will give you an example, various kinds of circles have to be considered. So, then it becomes a little more this thing detailed, and but principle is the same. It may become tedious, but not difficult. You have to be patient, you see. Anybody who wants to do astronomy, spherical astronomy, even very elementary thing, have to be patient, because you have to draw the figures and all that and see, and it will be very confusing. Only patience is the most important thing. So, 10 problems in Tantra Sangraha, he says, Iha Shanko Nata Kranti Digagraksheshu Panchasu Dvayor Anayanam Dashadha Syat Paraihi Tribihi Sashankavo Natakranti Digakshaha Sanatas Tatha Apakrama Digagraksha Digaksho Kranti Samyutau Digakshaviti Niyante Dvandvi Bhuye Taraihi Tribihi. So, here out of the 5 quantities, Shanku, Nata, Kranti, Digagra and Aksha. Shanku, Nata, Kranti, Digagra. Shanku is related to the zenith distance, Nata is related to the hour angle, Kranti is related to the declination, Digagra is related to the so called azimuth, and Aksha is related to the latitude. Okay. So, here Shanku, Nata, Kranti, Digagra, Shesho, Panchasu, clearly 5 of them are there. Dvayor Anayanam. So, 2 of them can be determined, Dashagha Syat Parais Tribihi. 2 of them can be determined from the 3 others, and this can be done in 10 different ways. Okay. So, it is 5C2 or 5C3, which is equal to 10, and this happens in 10 different ways. So, you form the pairs systematically, Shanku, Nata, Kranti, Digagra and Aksha. Then Nata, you leave that, because all those involving this have come, Nata, Kranti, Digagra. So, like that. So, they are all determined. So, Shanku is zenith distance. So, this is what he is talking about. So, this is the celestial sphere, this is the diurnal circle. So, this is the hour angle, and this is the so called azimuth. So, here the azimuth is measured from this, is called a prime vertical, the vertical circle which goes from zenith to the Z is Khamadhya, So, this is the east, this is the lower portion. So, the angle between this, to draw this to this. So, this angle is called Digagra, this is called so called azimuth. So, this is the declination Kranti, this is the Aksha, latitude, the angle is the latitude, and this is Avagrang, Nata, it is called Nata. He will tell you how much time it has taken. Sun or any object is moving like this. Okay. So, you draw the, you can imagine as if this line is, carrying like this, is rotating like this. So, this angle is called H, So, that is Nata. So, Shanku is cos Z, as we will see, Shanku is cos Z basically. Nata, Kranti is this, Digagra, Aksha. Okay. So, 5 quantities. So, one can determine 2 from the other 3. So, this is a table it gives. Shanku is zenith distance is r sin z, Nata is hour angle is r sin h. So, normally sin itself is more useful to call it as sin itself you give the name. So, Kranti is r sin delta, but sometimes rarely sometimes Kranti may mean declination only, arc also, but so one has to be little careful. So, people who are working in the area will know normally what is correct. So, Digagra is called amplitude or r sin A, and Aksha is latitude r sin phi. Phi is the latitude of the place. Yeah. So, these are the how to determine 2 from the other 3 out of these 5 quantities. So, that is the 10 Dasha Prashnaha, that is what he is saying. So, you have got Z H delta A phi. So, you can form these pairs. First you have this Z, with Z form all the pairs, the 4 of them clearly. So, now Z is exhausted. Now, you take H with delta, H with A, H by phi, that is 3 of them. Then delta A and delta phi, and A and phi. So, this how is actually clearly ordering 10 pairs that can be formed out of the 5 quantities associated with Dasha Prashnaha. So, verses 62-87 in Tantra Sangraha describe the explicit procedure for the solution of these 10 problems. The detailed demonstration of the solution of each of these problems is presented in Jeshtadeva's Yukti Bhasha. So, this will tell you, how it is. It will be interesting to know, how the results are presented, okay, in slokas. So, that is the thing, there are no equations. So, how do you describe it? So, the equations are implicitly given by these slokas. Ashagra lambaka bhyasta trijya bhakta chakotika bhujakshajya tayor vargayoga moolam shruti haraha krantyaksha vargau tad vargat tyaktva kotyau tayoho pade kuryat krantyakshayoho ghatam kotyor ghatam tata param saumye gole tayor yogat bhedat yamye tu ghatayoho. The ashagra multiplied by lambaka and divided by trijya is koti, etc. So, this is what he is saying. We will see what is the result. This gives the Shanku that is formed in the desired direction, and when it is northern part of the celestial sphere and southern part there is some difference. So, he is telling all this here. Tantra Sangraha, this Tantra Sangraha, the verse is in Tantra Sangraha and this explanation is in Yukti Bhasha. So, Tantra Sangraha is a so called a Tantra text. So, they will not give much theory, they will give all the results. Results are there, explanations have to be found in the commentaries, and Yukti Bhasha gives the Tantra Sangraha by Neelakanta Somayaji. Neelakanta. So, a lot of reference was there to Neelakanta, that infinite series and Aryabhatiya Bhashya and so on and so forth. Neelakanta Somayaji. So, who was in this work was composed in 1500 CE, and Yukti Bhasha came a little maybe 25-30 years later. So, Jeshtadeva wrote Yukti Bhasha, which is commentary on this thing, but actually only the astronomy part it is a commentary on Tantra Sangraha. The mathematics part it takes off, all known results in Kerala mathematics. So, that is more or less an independent thing, though he is humble enough to say that it is a whatever is there in Tantra Sangraha I am explaining. Whatever results are there in Tantra Sangraha, to know these, I am giving all these explanations. That is how it goes. So, finally, the result is, and similarly there are some conditions when the subproduct of the Kranti and Aksha is greater than, there is no Shanku, there is no solution like that. So, here the problem is to obtain zenith distance and hour angle in terms of declination, latitude and amplitude. So, Z and R are to be determined in terms of delta, phi and A. Okay. So, this is the result he is giving. Cos Z is sin phi sin delta plus or minus cos phi sin A into this. So, that is what he is saying, take Aksha, take its square, okay, take its koti, take its square and multiply it by the square of the digagra, subtract the declination from this, and all the whole of this you take the square root and multiply it by the lambaka, which is this thing. That is how it is expressed. So, this is a very, there is no ambiguity. I mean, there may be some places where it may be interpretation is required, but the most of the places it is very clear. You know, this is the expression which is implied in that. So, z and h. So, phi, delta and a are there. So, z and h are determined in terms of this thing, okay. And then once you determine z, you can find out h. So, the solution of this problem. So, what is given? So, a is given, the declination is given, the latitude of the place is given. So, what are you determining? You are finding the zenith distance or the altitude is 90 minus that, zenith distance and hour angle you are finding. So, for that, of course, so the Nilakanta gives only the results. So, similarly, he will give explicit results for all the 10 problems, and Yuktibhasha gives the proof of these things. So, I will just write, I am just giving the basic method and how they describe various circles and all that. So, he considers celestial sphere, he says you take the celestial equator, write the diurnal circle, it is called Ahoratra Vrutta. I mean, that is the daily circle associated with the sun, okay. So, then what you do is, suppose this is your object here, okay. So, then this is this thing here. So, then this is called with the corresponding amplitude, it is called Ishtadigrutta. You write a circle which is at this angle arc A from this, it is called Ishtadigrutta, and then you say called the pole of Ishtadigrutta, this is that which is 90 degrees from here, okay. And then from this you write a this thing called Viparita Digrutta, which is in a perpendicular to this. So, various circles are this thing, and then you draw various circles, okay. So, all these circles you have to find, and then he will tell you how to do this thing. He will run into 2-3 pages. So, but patiently you have to plot through that and you will get the result. So, please you can have a look at the Yuktibhasha. So, we are given all the, so and as I told, this is all given in the, it is not verse, it is not shloka in Yuktibhasha, it is a prose only. So, in prose he has given all these things. So, this we have translated it into this figure, okay. So, and then work with that and show that. So, that is what one has to the research scholars here working on Indian mathematics and astronomy, they have to do some such things, you see, you have to draw the figures and all that from what is stated in the work, okay. So, this is the thing. So, that is one of these things, and all the others also patiently they are explained, okay, in the work Yuktibhasha, all the other results also, all the 9 also, okay. So, there is no need to show them, you see, it will be overwhelming to say the least. Not difficult, but lot of details are there, that vrutta, this vrutta, you intersect this, that, all that, there is angle, find this angle, use this formula, so like that. So, a lot of detail only, but principle is quite simple. So, then I will slightly different thing I will talk about it. So, in this work Tantra Sangraha, he talks about distance between centers of solar and lunar disc. It is related to spherical trigonometry. So, what is this thing is the sun is there and moon is there. First we think that they are the relative position is the difference between the longitudes of sun and moon, okay. Now, but that will not give you the separation really, because moon has a latitude. So, moon is away from the ecliptic, and even sun, because of so called parallax, all these things are explained or described with reference to the center of the earth. For the observer, you have to his angle will be slightly different. So, that is called the effect of parallax. So, what I am saying is, if you are see, suppose you are observing some object, let us say moon, okay. So, you are observing from here, okay. So, there is some reference line, let us say, and suppose this is your celestial sphere. So, you are observing from here, okay. So, then this is the direction, but you are observing from the surface of the earth. So, then this is the direction, and there is a difference between this and this. So, the zenith distance for this is z, and the zenith distance for this is z0. I mean, imagine a person sitting at the center of the earth and observing it with the same kind of sphere, celestial sphere. So, he will observe it, the zenith distance is z0 and this one this. Anyway, so this angle is called parallax, it is called parallax. So, they plays a very important role in eclipse calculation and all that. So, because of that, sun also will be slightly deflected. So, now in that case, sun also will be deflected. This is the ecliptic circle. So, moon has come out of that. So, it is in M prime and sun is in S prime. So, then what essentially the procedure says, draw a perpendicular from this to the ecliptic plane, similarly from this to the ecliptic plane. So, then this is the S double prime and N double prime. So, now there are the projections, but what you want to know is the real distance, angular separation between sun and moon. What is observed, the observed locations of sun and moon, the angular separation between them. So, for that, so that distance, you see, but so one has to find that distance. Essentially, you have to find that chord on the sphere, chord this thing. Angular separation, of course, corrected angular separation will come later. So, this chord, this essentially gives the distance between these points, the actually observed points S prime M prime. So, he writes it as so then you drop this perpendicular from S prime to on the plane, and then he says that that there are three things. So, this is the separation, you see, S double prime Q prime is the separation along this line, you see, perpendicular line, and M prime M double prime Q prime is the separation along this line, this horizontal line, separation along this, separation along this, and then there is a separation, it is a plane of the ecliptic. So, one has come out this way, one has come out that way, or both might have come out the same way. So, that separation, the three separations are there, you have to square them, add them and take the square root, that is the distance between the two quantities. So, this is essentially same as in 3-dimensional coordinate geometry. Okay. So, because suppose you have in 2-dimensional coordinate geometry, what do you have? The distance between 2 points. So, these are the coordinate axes x and y, let us say. Suppose one point is there, x1, y1 are the coordinates, and other point is there with coordinates x2, y2. So, join these things. So, then distance d squared is equal to x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. So, this is a x2 minus x1 is the separation along the x axis, y2 minus y1 is the separation along the y axis. So, the total separation is this, you have to take the squares of them and then take the square root, add them and then take this, that is the distance. And if it is 3-dimensional, you see one is here and let us say one is here. So, 3 coordinates are needed, you see x1, y1, z1. So, in 3 dimensions, the generalization of this is d squared is equal to x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square plus z2 minus z1 whole square. So, this will be the distance square. So, this is a separation along x axis, this is separation along y axis, this is separation of the z axis. So, these three are taken, they are squared and take the sum and then take the square root. Precisely the thing is being said, So, they do not say coordinate axis and all that, they will say that separation along this thing, that is one Rashi. They say that S double prime Q prime is one Rashi. Rashi does not mean not necessarily zodiacal sign, quantity kind of thing. One Rashi, then this is another Rashi along a perpendicular line, and then this one, this along the perpendicular to the plane of this slide, perpendicular to the plane of this slide, there is another Rashi, that is the separation along that. So, take the squares of all these things, sum them and take the square root. So, that is the distance between centers of solar and lunar disks. So, that is the result, and of course, these will depend upon, these various things will depend upon the difference in longitudes of sun and moon, their parallaxes and moon's latitude and other. All those details are of course given. So, these are some of the things which are discussed, and there are some things which are really interesting and rather sophisticated things which they do using spherical trigonometry. Say for instance, what is the Chandra Shrungonnati, they call it, in the celestial sphere. So, moon, suppose moon is like this. So, this is the crescent moon, okay. The crescent moon is there. Suppose this is the shape of this, then how is what to what angle is it inclined to the horizontal plane, kind of a thing. So, that is called Chandra Shrunga Unnati, okay, the horns of the moon, how much it is this thing. So, that also uses in a nice, should have very cleverly, you should do all these calculations. So, they are there in the. So, I will just give you some flair of the the kind of things that are done in complicated, reasonably advanced for that time, you see, and 500 years or 600 years back also. For that time it is fairly somewhat advanced and sophisticated topics. So, they could handle it in a systematic manner, and all results are because that is applied useful for daily problems, for finding the positions of planets and eclipses and all that. They are all all these things it will be very useful. So, that is what they are doing, spherical trigonometry. So, these are normally all these things are discussed in a this thing called Triprashnadhikara, the three problems, Dik, Desha, Kala, okay, or sometimes also called Chaya Prakaranam, the chapter on shadows. So, that also is all these things are there. In Tantra Sangraha, actually it is nearly 172 verses out of 420 or so are on this. The references are given here. Okay, I think I will stop here.